Okay, so this is my third video blog post of Flickering Pixels. And I guess I'll start out with the first thing that I really agree with that Shane Hipps had to say in his book. And it's actually in the last chapter that we had to read this week, chapter 14, titled The Prodigal Brain. And he kind of talks about how in the Enlightenment or the printing age, the left brain was kind of like up here and then the right brain was subordinate to it. And I really like what he has to say of now, later on in like this postmodern society. Basically, it's saying that he's saying that like the right brain is making a comeback. So this is a quote from page 145. He says the right brain is the hemisphere that allows us entry into spiritual practices like contemplation, centering prayer, and silence. The left brain is allergic to such practices. It is the dogmatic theologian rather than the intuitive mystic. It is appropriate to respond with the same enthusiasm as the father in our story and welcome the right brain home. So he kind of puts the right brain in the prodigal son spot and then the left brain in the other son spot who chose to stay at home with the father. And I've seen a lot of different responses to this. Um, I've seen people rejoice about it. It seems like I'm learning a little bit about um, kind of like Orthodox Christianity, and they definitely put the two brains together, and they place an emphasis on the right brain, which kind of, is practices of contemplation, centering prayer, and silence. Those aren't foreign to Orthodox Christianity, and then you look at Protestants and evangelicals, and they kind of put the left brain on like a pedestal, and it's like, oh, it's only logic and reason, and that's all you can do. Like they kind of avoid mystical type stuff. And so even when I came to Spring Arbor, some of the professors were very hesitant about using a lot of the right brain, just because um, a lot of like in some cases the right brain can be used way too much and go totally mystic and then forget about any sort of dogma or doctrine or anything like that. So, and then at the same time, if the left brain is overemphasized, then there's not as much of a relationship with God. It's just more knowledge based, and that's it. Um, so he really writes home during this chapter how it's so important to have both, and how after the start of the printing press and to now, we should really be welcoming the right brain in relationship with the left, because we can't have either one by itself, because either extreme is no good. So I really agreed with that. And then the one thing that I kind of disagreed about was he writes on page 115, this is in the first chapter that we had to read, in Our Nomadic Life. That's the title of the chapter. He kind of writes about how the technologies of relationships kind of the difference between being physically present somewhere and just going on the internet and having a relationship there. And so I found this interesting. He said digital social networking inoculates people against their desire to be physically present with others in real social networks like the church or mealtime at someone's home. Being together becomes nice but not essential. And I am interning at a church, and it seems like, surprisingly, I was surprised because I had this kind of mentality going into it. I was like, they're going to want to talk on Facebook, they're going to want to video chat or text or something like that. But really, they would like the youth leaders and the volunteers and any sort of influential person, not the relationship, not to be on the internet or not to be using digital stuff. They would rather the person be there and be supportive. So like they have like a necessity for that person to be there, that leader or that example or that role model. They need something more than the inauthenticity that's over the internet. And so when he says being together becomes nice but not essential, it's almost the other way around. It's like being together for, like, especially the youth is essential. And then an internet relationship, or relationship, using the internet for expounding on a relationship is nice. So it's almost like flip opposite of what he's doing, and this almost might be a response to the postmodern culture that they're in, that they would rather, be have that authenticity and have that real relationship rather than being over the internet, um, which is really cool and really beneficial because, as we're reading in our books, like, technology can definitely lead us astray, especially if it's not used in moderation. So, for my ministry and for my final project, it's comforting with the chapter on the left and the right brain, because I'm going to be making a video, but I'm going to be using direct quotes of Justin Martyr and biblical passages, which would emphasize the left brain, the logic, the dogmatic side, and at the same time, the video is very artistic, so it affects the right brain as well, and using imagery. So that's comforting that it's using both brains, which is really cool. And also for ministry, recognizing the importance of an authentic relationship and not just having it over an internet or through technology as a medium, because they would almost they would like that authentic face-to-face conversation, because like, people in the postmodern society are starting to recognize the importance of face-to-face, which is really cool and might be a reaction to the digital age we're in. So that concludes my video blog post on this week's Flickering Pixels.